What's up, Dawn Nation? You need to stop collabing until you do this.
You got any tips and tricks for producers that are collaborating with other people that's across two different DAWs? Like obviously Austin, you was able to Chime use Logic. I can foresee that getting real difficult real quick.
There's the technical side and then there's the conceptual side, because we kind of have similar approaches when it comes to collaborations. I'm not really a fan of okay, this section is obviously this artist and then this section is obviously the other artist. I think a collaboration should really be a pretty homogenized blend of sounds and concepts and just both of the artists throughout. Some shining more than others, they're taking turns, but the whole thing doesn't feel like, okay, they just took two separate songs from individual artists and then did a mashup, which this doesn't. Sounds thorough.
Yeah, you could get that from a mix, like a DJ just mixing two different tunes. But when it's this integrated, I agree completely. That's what's exciting to me about a collab is diving into it and really picking apart, okay, I think the snare was probably this guy or whatever. I'd say on the technical side, sending clean stems is so important. My favorite stems to receive, they're numbered in the order that they would be in their original project. They're named things that you can understand and you can drag and drop them in, give or take the side chaining. It will sound exactly like it does on their end. That's my gold standard for stems. And there isn't 100 million thousand. So if I was sending the stems for this project, all of these basses pretty much, apart from I would separate the sub out and anything that was on top of each other. So the blinkers I would probably put as a separate bass channel. That could probably be 2 or 3 channels instead of 100 that I've used here.
You don't want the master effects like a multiband compressor and a clipper on everything too, because that'll mess it up.
That's the other thing I get a lot is where the stems are all just brick waveforms. And it's okay, but if everything's normalized, then everything's going to be normalized at a different volume as well. And again, you have to remix down the entire thing.
So my suggestion for that, to prevent that from happening, because normalize, you don't want your tracks to be super quiet and you don't want them to be going over 0 or clipping, nor do you want them to be normalized because that'll mess up the gain relationship between tracks. What I discovered is the best of all those worlds is just render at 32-bit. Because you can go over 0 decibels and it won't clip. You can reduce that without it. And you have more dynamic range over 0 dB if you're rendering at 32-bit float.
Interesting.
I'm pretty sure that's what I sent these as.
Do you know if there's any difference in terms of 24 and 16 for rendering out WAVs or?
Both 24 and 16, if you go over 0, you're clipping regardless. 24 is just higher resolution than significantly higher resolution than 16. So for instance, if you have individual instrument tracks that are really quiet and not normalized, if you render them at 16 and then the collaborator turns them up, there's probably going to be quantization noise.
So generally render at 24 or 32 where possible.
The noise eventually will add up, or if you're compressing something that is really quiet, it's going to introduce some distortion.
This is a small little snippet of our In the Dot episode that we did with Chime breaking down his song Voidwalkers. If you want to check out that full walkthrough plus get a free sample pack from the sounds that were made from Voidwalkers, there is a link down below, or you can head on over to dawnnation.net/Voidwalkers. Go check it out right now.